All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to this is week five, six. I need a week six debugging. Okay, I was looking at the slides right now, so let me go ahead and get started. I will share my screen and get us started here. Okay. So this is week six. This week we are going to learn a little bit about debugging Android apps, and specifically we're going to look into the logcat. I've mentioned the logcat before, but today we're actually going to explore it a little bit more. It's a very short lecture. And then there is the week six discussion. I did start grading the discussions over the weekend, so I'm a little behind on grading, but I will catch up on the discussions. And I started grading assignment three. In general, uh, I think we're in a pretty good shape. There's still some people missing the videos, but as long as I'm able to run it, you're still getting the credit. So just please, if you're, like you get to watch this video, please upload those short videos. It really helps out. And then the assignment three is due this week, so please make sure to get that done. Not today, but in a week from today. I have some sample code that I will show you towards the end of the lecture. Like I mentioned, the lecture is going to be very, very short. We're going to just go over logcat quickly, and then from there, I'm going to focus mostly on assignment three, making sure that we understand the assignment as well as that we understand the components that we need for the assignment, and how I want the video to be recorded in for the testing. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. If I do go out at some point, please, oops, I forgot to close my emails. Please do let me know, um, so that I don't just, okay, there we go. All right, so, and where are you? Okay. So, as I mentioned, this is debugging Android apps. And the goal here for today is to understand what to do when an app gets buggy, how to use the tools in Android Studio to detect a bug or to detect bugs, and we're going to be using the logcats and as well as the debugger. And I'm sure most of you probably already tried this and probably already know what it is and have been working with it. I do sometimes mention it in lectures, but I will talk a little bit more about it today. All right, so um, okay. So the first, and this is also part of the chapter in the book, but the first thing we're going to do is talk about the different types of bugs. So there's one bug in this case. This is the fatal exception caused by commenting out a crucial line. Okay, so this means that the app gets buggy and you need to find a bug and fix it. So when we're missing an important line, we normally can see when we're in Android Studio and they'll give us the squiggly red line underneath our code. And that normally indicates something's bad, right? Something's wrong, we need to fix it. But let's say, it didn't show up, sometimes it doesn't. And it's missing something, or you decide to run it just to see if it's going to work or not. But you run it, right? So crucial, a very, very crucial line in there. Um, and so they did this with the geo quiz, and they deleted this line, and so the app itself stopped working. Now, just be aware. I did get an email from someone that their emulator stopped working, and it wasn't really the app; it was the actual emulator. But that's another bug there. Okay. So exactly what happened when running the app. Um, in this case, the Android Logcat tool window, which is at the bottom of the Android Studio. So what happens, right? So we're gonna check the Android Logcat tool, and then you can also search the text fatal exception, which gives you clues about what code in the app that caused in crash. So we're actually gonna try this, and I'll show you where to find that. when we are running the code in Android Studio. So in this case, you can also search for the text fatal exception. Okay, so in here, this is how it looks. So the logcat has a little cat icon, and you can see it, we're inside of the logcat, and we can either look for it or search, do the search here, in this case, fatal exception. Now, when you encounter runtime exceptions, remember to look for the last exception in the logcat and the first line in the stack trace that refers to the code that you have written. So that is normally where the problem occurs, and it's best practice to fix the bug. So that's here. So pretty much just look at the exception here, and then it normally tells you what is wrong, like what happened, right? Sometimes it can't find it, even when it's there, it can find it. It means there's something wrong above, and if there's something wrong above, like look for the last thing that actually worked, and then from there, like scroll down towards the rest of the issues there. But there will come times, and you know this, anybody doing programming, that it will tell you there's a problem here, and you clearly have it written there and you have no idea why it's not picking it up. It's normally something that's before, or maybe the item is not being used correctly. Okay, so it's there. All right, bug number 2. And this one are misbehaviors. Problems may not be crashes. So for example, suppose every time when you press the next button, nothing happens in the GeoQuiz. This is a non-crashing misbehaving bug. Okay, so unlike the other one where you weren't able to run the app, it was just crashing. This one is just mostly, maybe there's some logic involved here where you're not enabling the button to do something. So this bug is trickier than the last one since it's not throwing exceptions in the logcat. So we cannot follow the previous approach in logcat to detect this bug. So 2 approaches to deal with this behaving bug. First one is to log stack traces. And for this one, we are going to be using the tags. So setting a breakpoint, and so to do the logging stack traces, we could use the tags. And then the other thing we could do is set up a breaking point using the debugger. So, so remember this is the tags. So considering the wrong behavior, we want to check if, in this case, for GeoQuiz, the update question is called when the next one is pressed. So how about adding a log statement to update question? So in this case, the log.d and then open parentheses tag, right? And then a message updating question text, and then and there the throwable, in this case an exception. Okay, so this is the format of the log.d. In this we have the string, in this case the tag, then the string, which is the message that we want to write regarding where we are at, and then the throwable, like throwing the exception. So the log.d logs, right? Logs the entire stack trace just like the Android runtime exception that we saw earlier. Um, and the stack track can tell us where to call the update question was made. So in this case, unlike the other one, where the logcat automatically does it for us, this is the other one where we do it manually. So it's just for us to determine where we're at. And this helps us understand, the things that actually were running correctly. And then when we see an error or we see a log where it says, this is where it's failing, it's easier for us to go ahead and trace it and fix it from there. So then we can run GeoQuiz and press next and check the output in the logcat. So the top line in the stack trace is the line where you logged out the exception. The blue links will lead you to the onclick where the index hasn't been adjusted correctly. And then note that logging out stack traces may be too verbose to make logcat make logcat BMS. So this specific scenario is when we were removing a line from the GeoQuiz and then pressing next, and we would see the errors in the logcat. So and I'll show you right now in the logcat how that looks for us in our case for the BMI assignment 3. Okay. So um, the next thing, or the third thing, would be setting breakpoints using the debugger. To set a we set a breakpoint on the, in this case, update questions for the GTO quiz to see whether it was called or not. So how to do it? So we just press next to the line update question method definition, and then um, in the gray gutter area, so in here we press it on it, and then the red circle appears to let us know this is where we would be running or setting up that breakpoint. Then after we set up the breakpoint, we can go ahead and debug the app by clicking the debug button, and that's just the little bug icon there. Okay, and which is, yeah, next to the run button. So this debug, and then there's the attached debugger to enter processes as well. But this is normally the debug icon that we want to press. Okay. Now you can do it in the what you can do in the debug tool window. Well, first you can go ahead and stop and then see what is going step by step in your debugging your breakpoints. You can resume the program by taking one breakpoint at a time, so you run it. You can step over, you can step into, you can step out, and then you could also evaluate expressions. So this is again part of the debugging program. So when would you want to use this? Well, let's say you're doing a calculation for your BMI or for your heart rate, and it's not showing up or not coming out how it should. So this is where you might want to use it. Or let's say your value isn't passing back how it should. This is where you want to be running the debugger for those type of issues, bugs. Now, inspecting variable values at runtime. So in this case, for example, we can go ahead and enter or in this case, it was on its own. So as long as you were running, you can go ahead and check in the debugger, check to see what the calculations actually are. So for example, question 0, the answer is true. Question 1 is the answer is true. And then you would just be checking each one of them at a time. And you're able to see the output here, as well as see what's going on in the background. For example, in here, the save state handle, it was calling this item right here. Okay. And then the question bank it was a list of array. The size was 6. So all this information you're able to see in the debugger. Now, you can also evaluate the current index. To do this, you can go ahead and open the evaluate text box here, and then type in the expression that you're trying to, and there's a drop down. Look for the expression that you're trying to evaluate, and you can see the result in there. Okay, so in here, the result 0 means, this is the current index in this case. But you could have results like 0 throwing no errors, or you can have a result, for example, true or false, a boolean. Now to stop the debugging, so that's for and how to get there, we just click on evaluate the expression, how to get here. Okay, that's the icon. Now for stop debugging, or to stop debugging, we just press that stop button, or yeah. Okay, so that is, like I mentioned, it was a very short lecture slides. These are just the 3 types of debugging tools that you have. The logcat. You can go ahead and type in your own tags, and then the last thing was to run the debugging mode. So where do we find these? So you're gonna find the logcat right here, and then I shouldn't have any errors, but let me see. Let me go ahead and run it, and let me do no filter. Look at the build. It was built successfully. So then let's look at the logcat. Okay, let me try it again. Okay, there we go. So I'm just gonna focus on the logcat for now. Okay, so in here, what does the logcat give us, right? And this here, it just gives us information about, uh, oh, look at this one. Okay, expecting a binder, but got a null right here. So where do you find this? Okay. But we're able to see different or all the logs of what's going on when the app is running. Okay, for the first time. So in here, there's one where it says unable to match the swap behavior. But we can also filter here, for example, fatal exception, which we don't have any. So let's go ahead and create one so you can see it. Let's go ahead and remove this binding of the heart rate. Go ahead and run this. So first, you see these are in red. Let's look at the logcat. Oops. Let's run it again. Okay. Come on. All right. It's not even gonna open the logcat. Oh, because it wasn't able to build. Just kidding. So let's do something less drastic. Okay. Let's look at the logcat. So it built. Okay. Second here. I want to run. Okay, there we go. Okay. So what happened here? And I'll just, and I guess we should see it here. Okay. Fatal exception. There we go. So what did I do here? So in here, I went ahead and removed this line of code, which binds the activity rate heart. Okay, so this one, you remember we had another class here called rate heart activity for our assignment 3. And what I went ahead and did, I removed the layout inflator. And so whenever I ran the code, right? I ran the app, it was fine. It was working until I clicked that button that needed the binding. So in this case, when I press the calculate button. Uh, 1 second, where'd it go? The one that needed the binding to calculate. So in here. Okay, but it threw this fatal exception, so we can go ahead and do research here. Oops, fatal exception, and it'll just take us here. Okay, and when that happens, they normally do give us more information that we can actually look at and see what happened. They also tells us, when it happens. In this case, it was an Android runtime that happened, and then what happened, the process ended. So right after we clicked here, the app pretty much crashed. So we weren't able to do much anymore after we pressed that button. Okay. So that's for that. Let me go ahead and uncomment this and run it again. Okay. Oops. Not Gemini. Okay. All right. So it's working. So now when I calculate the heart rate, it should take me to that second screen. Okay. And let me clear this. Okay. So it shouldn't be failing anymore. Okay, so in here, this is the previous one. So the process ended, the whole app was killed. So in here, it was a new ID, so new process that began when I ran the system, or not the system, when I ran the app. Okay. All right, so that's just one type of error, and this is where you would filter the other thing that you can see here are the times. So one of the things that I do get when I am getting, emails from from students that don't get their apps running is that they're showing me the logs, or because I will ask, can you like share your code? And if I do, right, I also ask to share your errors, logcat errors. And then from here, sometimes they're showing me like um, a very old error that has already been fixed at some point. Okay. All right. So we have there. We can also see some of the things. For example, force release on timeout. Uh, Things like that. Okay. So now, so that's a logcat. Now to talk about the debugging process, right? Uh, we can go ahead and run. Where's the debug button? They changed it again. 1 second. Oh, there it is. There's a debug process. Okay. So it's gonna wait for debugger. It does take longer, but in here, we can see and we can run the debug here, console. Okay. To just show that, let's go ahead and start it. Oops. Okay. And then to, let's say I want to put a breakpoint somewhere here. I don't know. I want to put it here to calculate I guess, yeah, to make sure that when I press the button, heart rate calculate, that it should be working how it should. Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and, where is it? Let me see, there's one, and then I'm gonna put another one right here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and rerun it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next one. Come on. They change every time. Okay, where is it? So I'm gonna pause it and then I'm gonna play it or run it again. Run it again. They disappear. Okay, do it again. No, it was in the heart rate model. Was it? No. Nope. Heart rate activity, that's where it was. Okay. So everything seemed to be good. So it has a check mark here that it ran. So actually they both ran well. But if they didn't, so let's see, let's cause an error. Here, what can you put? Let's rerun the whole thing. Oh, it didn't run. Okay. Okay, let's run it again. Debug mode. Okay. It's kind of hard to, like it's easy to make errors, but it's kind of hard to create errors once you get because I mean now I know, now you know like what you're doing, but it's kind of hard to create errors here, errors that wouldn't be too big of a deal. Okay, but just know that there's that debugging mode here, and then the other thing was with logcats. Wonder if I didn't use any. I didn't use any logcats here, but pretty much you can just use the tags logd. Let's see, and then tag, and then you would put in the message here, and then you do have to import the logcat. But yeah, okay, I'm not gonna do that right now. All right, any questions? Let's stop this for now. All right, if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead then and talk about assignment 3. Okay. Oops. So for assignment 3, I'm going to run the app and I'm going to show you what are the expectations. Okay. So this is assignment. So this is what you should have had for assignment 2, right? But the calculate heart rate button wasn't supposed to be working. So now we're gonna do, let's say, some pounds, some feet here, some inches. We were supposed to calculate it, and then you would have here the actual calculation as well, and to the first decimal place as well as the category. When you were supposed to rotate it and rotate it back, all the information should be there. Now let's go ahead and calculate the heart rate. So in the heart rate, you just have to enter the age. So let's say 34 is the age. I'm going to calculate it, and then we find the BPM, right? Beats per minute. In this case, how do we get this calculation? Well, it's in the assignment, 220 minus whatever the age is. And then the target should be between, was it 85, or this is 85, and I think this was 70, so 70 to 85. Don't quote me on that. Look, check the assignment 3 for those actual calculations, okay? All right, so then when you were to rotate it, right, and rotate it back, the information should still be there. So this number. And remember, how do we do this? Well, we do this with the view model. So view model makes sure that when you do screen rotations, the numbers are still going to stay there. Okay. Now when I go back, right, the information is there. Let me go ahead and calculate the heart rate. Oh, there's a bug here. All right, but this should be here. So let me go ahead and calculate again, and then let me go back, and then let's click on calculate heart rate. The number should be there. Okay, so what happened here? Why did I know why this happened, and I was supposed to fix it and I didn't. So it's because of the view model, right? The view model wasn't really handling this. And so look, if I were to rotate this, okay, and then rotate it back, yeah, it's stored there, but it doesn't, I forgot to do something to store it as well when I go back, change screens. So it's gonna disappear here. Well, I guess that did get fixed, but I'm not sure why. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But this is how it's supposed to look, okay? So you calculate, and then you go back here, and then calculate heart rate, and the number should be there. The actual calculation doesn't have to be here, just that number, okay? And then after you calculate, you should be able to clear things out as well. So that's what I expect in the video. So here, then you click enter the information, then you click on calculate, you enter the number here, you calculate it, and then you go back, you calculate here, and then you do a screen rotation, okay? And then you call back, and then you should be able to clear this. So that's what's expected in the video. And if you look at last week's slides, I also did do a checklist on what to expect there, okay? Now, one of the things that I added on here that wasn't there before is the action bar. So this right here is called the action bar. And this action bar, you can, have it appear there. Oops. Let me go back. Where's this? I think it's this one. Okay. Yeah. All right. So even look what happens here. Okay. But anyways, so this there's a checklist on how to do this. Now for this action bar, if you wanted to add this, it's in themes. You probably don't have it here. Okay. And all I did was add pretty much this. Remove the .no action bar here. Don't freeze on me. But in here, how do we change this? Just go into values or resources, then values, then themes, and in themes, just remove the .no action bar. Okay, that will allow you to have an action bar there. That's what that item was called. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so let me go ahead and let me kill this. Oh no, come on. 1 second, I'm gonna have to kill the Android Studio because the app froze, and I'm gonna reopen it, and then I will go over. Let's see. First quit, okay. Then I will be going over the actual code now. Force quit. Okay. Android Studio app. And then let me go ahead and share. Share. Okay. So now file open. Okay, just was it this one? It's in here. 1 second. Okay, baby, it's not here. Oh, there it is. I had to create a copy to add the heart rate, and I didn't want to delete the previous one. Come on, Android Studio. Oops. My bad. Alright, this is a geo quiz. Let me go ahead and open. Okay, there we go. And then it has to build. Come on. So it's still building. Oh, just kidding. Let me look at project files. Okay. Okay. So while it's still loading, I'm not sure why it's taking this long. The app keeps on crashing. Okay. So while we're still loading, I do want to make a mention again, a reminder that you're supposed to have 4 files, right, in your main. Go ahead and open this again. Okay. Okay. Anyways, so inside of the source, main, Java, and then so you're supposed to have the 4 files here in the in your BMI folder package. Okay. The first one is the main activity. So this main activity is supposed to be you're pretty much not changing much in here other than adding the button to do something. So here you have to set the click listener and then use the intent that we talked about last week, the heart rate activity, that's a class Java, and then apply. And then after that, you're calling in, or in the view model, you're going to be using the last process age. So that's the other thing that you're going to have to add in the BMI view model, the last process age, or you could do any other way that you want, but I went ahead and added the last process age right here. And there's just an integer that it was set to null at first, okay? So then that's for the main activity. That you're pretty much just, adding this right here, and that is it. And then binding, the binding should be there. All right, so then the other thing that you have to do is the heart rate activity. So this is where you're going to be putting a lot of your code for this assignment. Okay, so in this heart rate activity, you do have to bind it with the activity heart rate binding. So in this one, so that you can bind the items in the resource. So it's values. No, it's a layout. Sorry, it's a layout, and then this right here. So you can bind this. Okay. So that's here. And then from here, you're binding your buttons, making sure that you have everything that you should. Your calculation buttons should be there. Your clear buttons should be there. Same idea as assignment 2. Okay. Then you have your, again, binding, adding the age. And then finally, you're supposed to have the heart rate view model. So what are you going to store there? Pretty much just the age input. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the rest. The rest could be left blank as per the assignment. Now for the activity, heart rate, remember that once you go ahead and create, and I'll remind you on how to do this. So we right click on here and then we add a new, and then activity, we go ahead and do an empty activity view. When you do this, make sure that you have generated a layout file and it'll create the layout file for you. Then the same idea as before, right? You create that layout file, you get your buttons, everything. You get to choose whatever layout you want. So in this case, I just left the default constraint layout. You could have done I like to get the linear layout, but in this case, I just left it a constraint layout because I do get some questions of why did I pick the linear versus a constraint, and I'm like, you could pick either. It's just, for what I want to do. So you could have had the calculate button and the clear button here. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. I wanted to show you that, you can still use it without the linear um, uh, view. Okay. So those are the things that, to look out for. So view model, VMI view model, heart rate view model, the heart rate activity, which is our second activity, and the main activity. Now, when we look at the, let's see, where is the Android manifest? Let's see. Okay. Come on. Where are you, manifest? Okay. I'm gonna find it here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Good, just overlooking this. All right, so when you have your Android manifest, this heart rate activity automatically comes up. Okay. So the heart rate activity, when you create that activity, it'll add it to your Android manifest. If it's not there because you did it some other way, please make sure to add it. Okay, if you don't, then it's not going to show up. And this is normally an issue that happens in some assignments from previous times I've taught this class. Okay, so normally there, so it does have to be declared. Now in the main, let me go back to the other one. In the main activity, in here, you are supposed to declare. Yes, okay. So that's what I want to talk about. When you're doing the imports, you're going to have to do obviously the binding, data binding like we did before in the main activity. But for the view model here, let's do, nope, main activity, where's the view model? You're going to have to import the view model as well. So just be aware of that. Don't forget to do that. That's another issue that I see where people are getting errors, or people get errors. They forget to add the view models. Okay, so make sure you do add the view model, that you do the binding so that you can use the items that are over there. Okay, and so for example, there's a binding there, right? Okay, any questions? All right, so if there are no questions, I will end it here. Please do email me if you have any questions. Remember, assignment 3 is due a week from today, but it shouldn't be as bad. Okay, and I'll stop the recording here, and I'll stay for anybody that wants to ask questions outside of the recording.